Yeah, I think that's the first time, even for us, I saw like a name coming, okay, BÜCHI. Then I went on your website and now they're looking for our sensor.
Back then, the motivation was less like, okay, hey, we have a gap here and there and we have to complement this, with something else. It was more like, okay, what's going on? Oh, that's a potential threat. We digged into it and no offense, but back then I said, it's okay, but it's not yet there.
What brought you back in again to look for Si-Ware?
Extremely impressed by the latest generation of the handheld sensors.
So we passed the test.
Oh yeah. And you can imagine, I mean, for us that was first like kind of a shock.
How was the impression after the first one?
These guys are moving forward fast. You have excellent processes in place and people who know what they're talking about.
How you see the partnership going forward?
First and foremost, the fact that it's a partnership, so that means it doesn't stop there. So when we succeed in combining, the Swiss culture with the Egyptian culture, and we take the best of both worlds, I mean, that can really create a great environment.
How our teams work together so far?
Competence, but also capacity, speed, flexibility, including the software ecosystem. That's a new concept. Nobody does that.
How do you see the future of the BÜCHI NIR after this acquisition?
The elements that NeoSpectra brought to BÜCHI, we have now a solution offering that is unique. It is really unique. So we can go now to every customer. You don't have to fear competition because hey, I have something better to offer.
Welcome, my friend, to Cairo again.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you here again.
Likewise.
Maybe in a new phase now? More relaxed one?
Well, yeah, let's hope so. It was a bumpy ride so far. I'm looking forward to it, definitely.
Yeah, I hope it will be more smooth. Okay, so maybe let's start with an intro first, so to let people know who we are.
Sure.
So I can start. So my name is Mostafa, as you know.
Right.
I'm leading the commercial team at Si-Ware since maybe 5 years now. I was the first guy on board since 20 years. Moving from the R&D part to the commercial side. I hope I'm doing a good job so far. So, passing it to you.
Yeah, so my name is Ruedi. I have a background as a chemist, so I'm not an engineer. So I come more from the application side. That was always my, my passion, if you will, to really understand the customer, what they are doing, being in the lab. And then I joined BÜCHI 20 years ago in product management. And in 2018, I joined the executive team, being responsible for the product portfolio of BÜCHI. And in that context, obviously, business development was a key topic. Where are we going? Do we need to consider new technologies? What is competition doing? Market trends, etc., etc. And I think this is where the whole story started, right?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe let me go a little bit back and ask you more specific about the BÜCHI NIR journey. Maybe before we meet, if you can tell us a bit about the history, how things started, what really got you into NIR. BÜCHI is great and doing a lot of good stuff in many other areas. And NIR seems to be a bit different. So if you can tell me a little bit more about the journey, how things started, that would be great.
Sure. So we have 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have all the time.
No, I try to make it short. BÜCHI, let's say the heart or the origin of BÜCHI is really more, in, let's say, hardware, in wet chemistry. BÜCHI really developed to a global player, more in the synthesis labs with the rotary evaporator. This is kind of, what made the brand really, put it on the landscape for everybody. However, when it comes to quality control, to analysis, traditionally there were all these wet chemical applications. Like for instance, for protein determination, you have the so-called Kildall method, which required sulfuric acid. You have to reflux in
now the chemist comes in place.
Exactly. It's cool chemistry, but it's hardcore chemistry. It's really and I mean, put yourself in the shoes of production guy in a food company. I mean, will you really touch these chemicals?
No.
Definitely not. And I tell you, this is rough environment, because when you look at you put this instrument into a fume hood and the quality is not good. It doesn't take long until it's just rotten. You can't use it anymore, okay? So it's natural that people, are looking for alternatives. How can I get rid of these chemicals, these dangerous goods? And obviously we asked ourselves the same thing, And this was in the 90s, actually. We acquired a really nice FT NIR spectrometer from a company in the neighborhood. Really, it's just next door. Yeah. Next door, really. It's called Bühler. So Bühler is a famous global milling company. It's a giant. And obviously for them it was also an interesting technology, but it was also, it wasn't their core business. It was something else. But we figured like, hey, we know the customers. We are there. We have the market access, and we also have the reference technology, reference analytics. So the primary method, as we say, Kildall, extraction, moisture determination, that kind of thing, but not really the modern, the fast, the really, what people were looking for, like NIR, for instance, so it was a perfect fit. So that was more than, that was in the late 90s, exactly. So this is when it all started. Exactly. Interestingly, we, being a Swiss company, what you try to do is always to develop the best possible solution for the customer.
Excellence.
Exactly. It's like really, precision, ruggedness, performance, accuracy. These are core values, right? And you want to be the best. Because, BÜCHI is a premium brand. So, and when your slogan says quality in your hand, and you're a customer, you don't want a crappy instrument. You expect quality, right?
Makes sense.
So we took that instrument that we acquired from Bühler, and we, let's say, improved it. And I think it's fair to say that we really developed the best possible product you can get in terms of FT and NIR. But, the best possible product quite often is also, or usually, it's also the most expensive one.
Yeah.
And you do not always need, this precision and all the whistles and everything, Sometimes, in particular when we talk about food production, at line, offline analysis, you need just something straightforward, simple, just push a button, make it easy. Whereas in pharma, it's a different story. You want to create your own models and everything, and can I do this and that, etc. So, with the focus really more on the feed industries, we also had to change, let's say, the solutions that we provide to a new type of customer. So you have to adapt that. So, we developed a new instrument, so the Proximate, and with that really kind of entered a market which became our main target.
Perfect. So let me maybe jump in here and ask a question. So maybe the drive is you really want to chase maybe the modern stuff, the smart stuff, the fast stuff. That was the drive for the NIR?
Yes.
Coming into this business area?
Yes.
So it's like the main drive?
Well, yes, this, and also when you develop a portfolio strategy, you have to be aware of, hey, what are the major trends? Because you can have the best possible product, but when a trend goes in another direction, or let's say a new technology emerges, potentially disruptive, you are in deep trouble.
Agreed.
And I mean, this was obviously one of the reasons why we said, okay, hey, you know, let's master that technology. Plus, I mean, it also makes sense because it kind of complements what we already have. You know, I mean, you as an engineer and expert in the field, you perfectly know with NIR, the spectrum that you get. You know, I'm a chemist. You know, I'm used to another type of spectroscopy that allows me to interpret the signals,
Yes.
and you have a compound, you know,
Vision or
in
view.
front of you. You know exactly what it means. You know, you can
Yes.
read the peaks. You can't do that with NIR. It doesn't tell you anything.
Exactly.
It's the magic with chemometrics.
It's more of the applied side of things than
Yeah.
seeing the whole full picture. Okay, so maybe let me get back to the next question. So when you were looking for partners or other technologies,
Yeah.
what you were really looking for? Well, I mean, there's new trends, as you mentioned, things
Yeah.
coming up. So what you were really looking for? I'm sure you have made a survey, looked in the market, and you had something in mind. You say, if I find this, this is the right partner.
It actually, yes, definitely, but it started a bit earlier. Because one of the things that you also should do when you're in product management, you should be aware of, you know, what's going on in the market. Also in terms of technology scouting. In particular, when we're talking about modern technologies, NIR, where you have different ways to measure
Yes.
your sample, right? And in that context, we actually got first time in contact with Si-Ware back in 2016, I believe.
Yes.
So I think that was
Yes.
like the first generation
yeah.
FT-MEMS, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the first time, even for us, I saw like a name coming, okay, BÜCHI. Then I went on your website. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Swiss company working in NIR. They have all this big stuff. And now they are looking for our sensor, which was like back in 2016, yes.
Right.
Almost 9 years ago.
Right.
That's
right.
how things started, I think.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And it came more, I mean, back then, the motivation was less like, okay, hey, we have a gap here and there, and we have to complement this, you know, with something else. It was more like, okay, what's going on, you know?
Yes.
Oh, hey, here's FT-MEMS. And of course, when you look at it from a distance without being a chip expert,
Yeah.
you think like, oh, that's a potential threat. So, you know, let's look how good these guys are.
Do.
You know, exactly. So, you know, we digged into it, and no offense,
No.
but back then I said, it's okay, but it's not yet there.
Okay, so first generation didn't meet expectations, which I understand. I totally understand. So what brought you back in again to
Yeah.
look for Si-Ware?
Yeah, that is an interesting question indeed.
Yeah.
I think there are two reasons, I would say. You know, one reason is we realized, although we had 3 excellent products, really kind of, you know, the
Top notch.
top-notch Maybach type of, you know, instrument.
Yes.
We had a rugged at-line instrument. We even have an online instrument which allows you to measure during production. We still lack of the kind of flexibility, you know, because, you know, we learned as we further entered or penetrated that market that, you know, people want to have that kind of flexibility. You know, you need a, let's say, preferably a mobile device, you know, that allows you to measure here and there, and then you compare your values with the lab. Of course, you can further take that, you know, to incoming goods perspection, or even to suppliers, and also downstream, obviously, to resellers and all that kind of thing. And we didn't have that, so that kind of flexibility was missing. So that was one thing. The other thing, it probably goes back to the fact that BÜCHI is really, in its DNA, a hardware company. right? So we are used to do something,
Yes.
tangible, right? And so we are not really known for our software. I mean, we are good, let's say, in creating a software which allows you to run an instrument, so really on the instrument. But when it comes to cloud-based solutions, which allows you to really do some asset management, fleet management, user management, all these kind of things, or you want to deploy a new calibration to your subsidiaries all over the globe, global networking and all that kind of thing, that's not our forte. And I think these two aspects, I think, were kind of the drivers, when we came back to Si-Ware and said, hey, what happened now in between? I said, on one hand, we were extremely impressed by the latest generation of the handheld sensors. That was obviously the first thing, the first thing was like, okay, hey, let's see what happens, is it still the same or not? And the way we did it, that's actually quite interesting, I mean, it's, in my opinion, you should always put it to the test with a customer. So we went to a customer in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We took your handheld. We took our, let's say, mid-tier instrument, the rugged Atline production instrument, Proximate, and we took our top-notch instrument. So 3 types of, levels, if you want, and then we compared with the customer. And we're like, okay, so something happened. So this was like, okay, now we're talking.
So we passed the test.
Yeah. And you can imagine, I mean, for us that was first like kind of shock. It's like, okay, these guys are moving forward fast. I mean, and think about it, I mean, our instrument is like this, right? So that's a macro FT NIR. And now you have it this size. Okay, you need a lamp and everything. Maybe it's a little bit bigger, but still very small. And not just that, there's a different price tag to it, which obviously also helps you to really make a change in the market. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of,
started things. Good. So maybe this takes me to a little memories. What was your impression about the first technical meetings we had together, and maybe also the business or the commercial side? How was the impression after the first one? Like, those guys are really nuts, not good, or they know what they're doing?
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
like what you didn't tell me before.
Technically, I was really impressed. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so that's why for me, it's the proof of the pudding is always the application. And what's the customer's feedback, customer satisfaction, is it really, okay, hey, wow, this, I will buy that, for me as a customer, I will buy that. And then, coming to Cairo, meeting the people, I mean, you immediately get, I mean, I'm into product development, and you get a feel for, okay, are these is it just hot air? But it can't be, because the proof is there. There's an instrument, and somehow this happened to be
so
here.
It's not only camels and pyramids. It's technology.
Exactly, it's reality. No, so it was evident, and not just that, what actually impressed me as a Swiss pretty much was, okay, it's not just some, let's say, brainstorming and agile development, and let's do something a little bit here and see how it goes, and okay, let's change plan and do something there. I mean, you have, for many things, you have excellent processes in place and people who know what they're talking about. I mean, when it comes, it's one thing to develop an instrument as a prototype for just proof of concept. It's an entirely different thing to produce something in masses
Yes.
and meet quality expectations, in particular when you're a premium brand and expectations are high.
Yeah, for Swiss people, that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot afford just providing something where, I don't know, 5% or more of the instruments just fail. This will damage your brand, your reputation. And not just, I mean, potentially this is a threat for the company, if you will, you know, because in the end, it's not about NIR, it's about the brand. So if you partner up with somebody who is, I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to do that, bullshitting, sorry for my language, that's a problem.
And actually, maybe I could take this to one of, I would say, the core values we have in Si-Ware, which we learned since day zero when I joined the company. It's not just meeting expectations. We need really to exceed expectations. We really need to set the bar very high, not just meet the expectations, but really exceed it.
Yeah.
And maybe this takes me to a word which you said, which I really like. When you said a partnership. So you're not seeing this as an acquisition and then we'll take this and just stop. You said a partnership.
Yeah.
Maybe can you elaborate on this part, how you see the partnership going forward?
Yeah, exactly. When you look at an instrument or a solution, I should say, you know, and you have everything in your own hands or the possibility to copy or to take over a technology and further develop it, as we did in the very beginning, you can argue you don't necessarily need a partnership. You can just, you know, do a technology transfer, one-time acquisition, that's it. You know, one transaction done. Thank you very much. Goodbye. But, I mean, for us, we don't have the expertise in FT-MEMS or in MEMS technology. That's clear. We'll never have that. That's your strength. That's your DNA. That's one side. Same when it comes to the software ecosystem. And this was the part that we didn't touch before, because that was the second element which really convinced me from the very beginning. Conceptually, how you execute it, and also process-wise or organization-wise, how your teams are set up and collaborate with each other. And when we first met and you see people presenting and you see the organization and how things, you know, how the puzzle fits together, you see like, hey, you know, this is what we can bring as BÜCHI. This is where we are strong. And you see all of a sudden, hey, there are some other puzzle pieces which perfectly complement the pictures that we have. So why not, you know, partner up and go on a long-term journey rather than just saying, hey, you know, we need that technology and we'll do it better. No way. It cannot be. You know, it's clearly, okay, hey, this is how actually a partnership, a complementation will result in something much better compared to just a one-time transaction.
So you said you had this in the Swiss culture, the Swiss company, and when you saw this, they click, right? So may I ask you, how would you describe how our teams work together so far? How you see this like in the last maybe 2 years, I would say?
Yeah, almost, yeah. Yeah, I mean...
What's your experience?
Yes, I mean, this is a good question because, you know, at the first glance, you know, when you think about an innovative technology, high-tech company, you don't think about Egypt. Or that's not, let's say, the first country which comes to your mind.
Yeah, just telling you, our first big customer told us Egypt is very far away. So we understand what you say, and that's why we need to exceed expectation, not only meet. Yeah.
Right. And but that's the interesting thing, you know. That's exactly what we encountered, and obviously wanted to put that on the test, you know, and to see, hey, you know, in a real life, in a real project, you know, how does that work? Because I mean, although it is not far away from Switzerland geographically,
yeah.
Also cultural-wise, yet there is a difference, of course, you know, and you want to see, okay, hey, how does it work? So luckily, we could run that pilot project by, linking one of our instruments to the NeoSpectra platform. That's a real case, and we knew what we expect because we wanted to do that on our own before. We also did so, but it didn't end up that well, for whatever reason. So to us, it was an excellent test also, to compare, competence, but also capacity, speed, flexibility, processes, all these, elements which are really relevant for a collaboration. And what, in my opinion, what you can really say is, of course, all these things that I just listed now, they are there, clearly. But what comes on top, and this makes a difference in my mind, is there's that hunger, like you said before, you have to prove that you exceed expectations. And this was visible. There's people, you can feel in Egypt, maybe it's due to the fact that there are not too many great opportunities in your life, maybe. In Switzerland, you have the choice.
Abundance.
Yeah, you really, you can do everything. And this is maybe one of the reasons why we are not great at sports, usually, with some exceptions. Because, you have plenty of opportunities in your professional life. You can do everything, really. It's just in abundance, right? Whereas here, when you get the chance to do something great, you want to make sure that you can participate. And this hunger, this passion, this is what you can feel. I'll give you an example. This is, it's still, sticking to my head. And it's related to support, the customer excellence team. I'm picking this example because for us, providing support is part of the customer experience. And like I said before, when you're a premium brand, you want to make sure that the customer experience is the best possible, because this is part of the reason why, a BÜCHI instrument, costs more than another instrument. So when we heard, or when, let's say, the processes, the KPIs were presented, so, oh, wow, that's good. But then, when the head of the customer excellence team, Dalia, was there and presenting, you could, you saw it in her eyes.
You saw the passion.
The pride. It's not just, we had a KPI of, first response time of 10 minutes, and we are faster. We had 10 minutes, and we are like 3 point something, and like, okay, we achieved something. We exceeded expectations, and that passion, that pride of contributing to the success of the company, that really hit me, and that's something which is also difficult to explain when you go back to Switzerland, to tell people, hey, how was it, etc. You have to experience that, and this is what we experienced, and yes, that's why we're sitting here also.
Perfect. Maybe you said at the very beginning, like in the Swiss culture, the strength is like excellence, quality. So if I ask you, what do you see in Si-Ware as a real strength, or like 2-3 things you see would really be a strength that can complement the nature of the two companies together and really could put us really forward in a leading position?
Yeah. First and foremost, this is kind of the prerequisite. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking. Sure. You need the competence to provide excellency in really the solutions, the products, be it hardware or software, that you produce, right? Because, otherwise, like I said in the beginning, if the quality is not there, And also the user experience is bad for whatever reason. Can be an ergonomic one, you know, when we talk about hardware, or it can just be some awkward, you know, user experience with the software, too many clicks or bugs or whatever, you know. You don't want that. So that's kind of a given, but that's already a high hurdle to take. And this is clearly given. Another one is, I think what I would, you know, one of your values is innovation, right?
Yes.
And that's not just a buzzword or something you put on your wall just to pretend you're innovative.
Yes.
You can see that. I mean, you can see that when it comes to the very heart of the hardware, the MEMS, the chip. I mean, I'm not an expert in that, but you know,
you're becoming an expert now.
Well, no, the thing is, you know, I mean, you know, when we did the due diligence and everything, you know, obviously, you know, we involved expert in the field, and they clearly confirmed this is there. That's something unique. So that's that. But then, and this is really, I think, the one part where it perfectly complements what we already have in place. You know, we have, I think, really good at-line, offline, online instruments. Now, you know, with the handheld, there's another mobile device. Complementing it on the hardware layer. But that's only part of the experience. You know, it's not about just hardware product. Obviously, it's the complete solution with, let's say, an everyday life example already there. You know, with other platforms that we use in our daily life. You know, be it the App Store or whatever. I mean, this is pretty common. However, in our industry, to provide an open platform rather than, you know, locking in the customer like all the big guys do. That's a new concept. Nobody does that. So you have a platform that allows you to connect your instrument, whether it's a BÜCHI, whether it's a competitor's instrument, it doesn't matter, you know, so you're there. And not just that, you create potentially, and I'm sure it will happen like that, a community which shares their experience, their skills.
It's an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem, exactly. And this is conceptually, so you apply the successful concept which is already there in the B2C business, now to the B2B business in our industry. And that's obviously, to me, I'm 100% sure that's a game changer.
Excellent. I mean, with this level of excitement, which I have too as well. So after these 2 years of hard work, and finally we reached this, I would say, great milestone. So what excites you for the next steps or the future?
Yeah, I think first and foremost the fact that it's a partnership. So that means it doesn't stop there. So now we have two teams complementing each other's with, I think, cultural-wise, with skills, with just the way they're working, and obviously also with the solution offering. And I think when we succeed in combining, you know, the Swiss culture with the Egyptian culture, and we take the best of both worlds, I mean, that can really create a great environment for both parties, of course. So I think that's the key. I think that's also our challenge, Mostafa, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But that's really
that.
That's a great opportunity. I mean, this is what excites me in really spending most of my time to that collaboration and, you know, trying to make it successful. And that's one thing. And the other thing is, of course, I am convinced, you know, if you want to achieve something great, you need the right people at the right spot. So this is always the key. And if the chemistry is not there, you know, you can have the best possible people somewhere, the best processes, whatever, best education. It won't change anything. You need a common understanding, a common vision, a common passion, and I think then it will click. And this is what I felt, you know, so not just with you, but also with other people.
So you brought it back to the chemistry again. So where you started.
Yes.
So maybe one last question from my end.
Yeah.
How do you see the future of the BÜCHI NIR after this acquisition?
Yeah, I think I'm convinced now, you know, with the elements that NeoSpectra brought to BÜCHI, we have now a solution offering that is unique. It is really unique. So we can go now to every customer. You don't have to fear competition because you know, hey, I have something better to offer.
Something unique.
Something unique and something which is making the customer lives, that the customer's life easier, and a support organization in the background, which makes the customer experience excellent. But before we close,
yes,
I mean, the Si-Ware journey is also not over, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. So, I mean, if I recall back in 2016, you said you met us first time with the first sensor. Maybe didn't meet your expectations. And 2023, you found a better option. So maybe in 2027, 2028, we have another new thing coming out, maybe in a new field. I think we have a lot of, I would say, new opportunities in other areas, focusing maybe on new applications, new markets, with maybe more advanced sensors that I believe maybe could open new partnerships in the future.
Sensor fusion.
Yeah, who knows?
There's so many things.
Yes.
That could be done. I mean, and again, I mean, you know, this is sometimes when I hear these things, and also when you go to some of the labs and you see people working on something else, you think like, okay, you know,
okay, you're doing something there.
There's something coming. So cool, yeah. I mean, so I guess that won't be the last chapter of our.
Just the beginning.
Exactly.
Just the beginning.
Looking forward to it.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much, Ruedi.
Thank you too.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.